to part two of Mr. Bill Cox's lifetime as a amateur boxing referee. We are now going to bring Mr. Bill Cox in.
Good afternoon.
And here we are. Bill. Good afternoon, I should say. Yeah, sorry, mate. Good afternoon. How are you feeling?
Well, I've had a little bit of a bad back the last couple of days, so it's a bit sore now. But it's this weather and it's the damp and the cold.
Yeah. Any reaction after the vaccine jab?
None at all. None at all.
None at all. It's good news.
Got me pamphlet. Look.
Good news. COVID-19 vaccine. Do you have to carry that with you? Or do you have to some sort of card to say you've had the vaccine?
I've got the card. I've got the card. 1 second. You give you a card. You have to keep it till. Can you see that?
No, put it in front of the thing, mate.
Put it. It's there. Look.
And do you have to carry it with you at all times?
Well, yeah. Until you keep it safe. Obviously, it's a record that you've had it done. And when I get this, there's a space there to fill in when you have the second one. So I'm thinking.
Have they given you a date for that yet?
No. They'll. I should imagine you'll have to keep that. You'll have to.
What
keep
they just
that
send for you then?
Yeah. And then I think you'll have to keep that card to prove that you've been vaccinated if you want to do anything. I would have thought if you.
Yeah. Well, so if you want to go abroad or whatever, I suppose that's
what'll happen eventually. I don't think you'll be allowed to travel unless you've had it. And obviously there'd be certain countries that won't let you in unless you've had it. I think that's the way it's going. I don't think it'd be our government saying you got to do this, got to do that. I think it'd be other countries saying, yeah, you can come here, but you've got to been vaccinated, and obviously you probably had to have a test to prove that you was negative 72 hours before you go or something like that.
Yeah, I think obviously that should be brought in as well for people coming into the country.
Yeah, they've brought it in there, isn't it? I mean, they've in fact they've added about another 3 countries to the list now, the red list. If you come in, you have to isolate in that hotel for 10 days. Even if you're,
and that's at your cost as well, isn't it? Evidently.
No, it's at the government's cost.
Government's cost.
The government's cost, yeah. That's what it
More
says.
money out of taxes.
More money, yeah, of course.
We're paying for it again.
Our great grandchildren will be paying this long after we're gone.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, mate. Without a shadow of a doubt. Right. So, for those of you who,
go on.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. For those of you that missed part 1, we finished with Bill after the Commonwealth Games in 2002, and we're gonna, if you can pick it up from there, basically, Bill, we've got some fun up a little bit later, but if you could just continue from 2002.
You're going in and out, Charles.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you
it's the internet, Dan. It's very bad because of the weather. Yeah. So we finished off at 2002 on the last stream when you was refereeing the light heavyweight boxing final. If you can carry on from there, explaining what you've done, what's happened, and we're going to bring some photos in now and then. You can just jump back and you can relive them.
Yeah. Well, after the Commonwealth Games, we was preparing then for the Olympics in 2004. So from 2002 through to 2004, I was refereeing tournaments all over the place. Bulgaria, Greece. We did the what they do. They do a pre-Olympic tournament actually in the country where they're going to hold it. So we went to Athens, and when we got there, they took us to where the venue was supposed to be there, and it was still an hole in the ground. There was nothing there. They were so far behind in Greece at the time. But I refereed in that. It was called the Acropolis Cup. And again, one of them funny stories that comes out the Acropolis Cup. We have the free day. Always, when you're on them tournaments, you have one free day where you don't do boxing and all that. So they said, well, we'll go up to the Acropolis. Now, if anyone's ever been to Athens and ever been to the Acropolis, they'll realise that is some kind of climb. Now, I was with fit athletes, and about just over halfway up, we had to stop and have a drink. It was absolutely murder. Anyway, we continue and we get to the top. And when we got to the top, he said, sorry, it's closed today. So they're on strike, but no one told us. So we climbed all the way to the top to the Acropolis and couldn't get in.
Was it in the summer?
In the summer, we was. Well, you can imagine the language when we got up there. We see these notices. I mean, even the man in the shop, which we was halfway up, yeah, we had a drink. We was talking about going to the top, yeah. You think he might have said, "Don't bother, mate." But
probably thinking crazy Englishman, let them carry on.
Yeah, probably trying to punish. He probably knew we was boxers. He tried to, get them injured or something. But yeah. So I've done Athens. We done Denmark. I said Poland and Czechoslovakia. So I've done about 6 tournaments up until the qualifying for the event itself, which was in 2004, and I was booked to go to the Felix Stam tournament in Poland, which was going to be the qualifying event. And as I said before, Candice decided to give birth 5 weeks early, and she had a bit of a bad birth, and she wasn't well, so I couldn't go. And as I said, that was the reason that England didn't have anybody as a referee in the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens. And then after that, I done. Let me think. Then after that, I've done tournaments in Norway, tournaments in Sweden, and that brings us up to about 2006, where I was asked if I would go on to the European Referee and Judges Commission. But as I said, they'd accept me. Europe would accept me. That I don't know who other names that they put up, but they came back and they Frank Hendry and Paul King at the time said the only names that they'd accept from England was yours. Would you do it? But you would have to stop refereeing. So as I said before, I'm going back a bit again. I had a good talk with Jacqueline, and she said, well, why not? And it was a bit of an honour because, as I say, the last person we ever had from England on them commissions was my father, which was 25 years before me. So it was a bit of an honour. So from then onwards, I was going to tournaments. Well, in this country as well, because I was chairman of the Referee and Judges Commission of England. I was doing ABA finals, GB tournaments, where I was the technical delegate, where I was actually in charge of the whole tournaments. So that's how I went on. I went again all over the place, being a technical delegate, and adjudicating on referees doing R&J exams, where obviously the candidates were up to be upgraded from obviously their national federations to come in to be European referees. So that was how it went along right the way up until 2012 to our own Olympics here. When I told you where I suffered, I did suffer the disappointment of that I was chairman of the English Referee and Judges Commission, and I was Secretary of Europe, and didn't get an invite to the Olympics in my own country. And when I decided then I'm going to come completely out of boxing, which I did do. Up until
is there? Sorry, Bill. Is there a certain gap in between the amateur fighters can actually box? Like, is it a couple of weeks, couple of months?
Well, no,
what sort of time scale is it in between bouts?
Normally, they would box maybe once or twice a month as an amateur. But when you're elite, when you're boxing in these multi-nation tournaments, you can box every day. And that was the difference between a normal amateur boxer and what they call an elite boxer. When you go into all these multi-nations and world championships and Commonwealth Games and Olympics, they can box every single day.
Right. So what sort of like on the medical side of it, do they have a medical before every bout?
Yeah. What would happen if you was at a multi-nations tournament, and like I was a technical delegate, I'd be there for the weigh-in at 6 o'clock in the morning, because they would have to weigh in every morning as well, and they would have a full medical every morning. And
was that an independent doctor, like from another country?
Well, when it was a big multi-nations, there'd be doctors from maybe 4 or 5 countries there, because obviously the amount of competitors there, one doctor couldn't. It'd be too much for one doctor to do on his own. So you had a medical commission, like you had a referees commission, and they appointed the doctors for the tournaments.
And were they like stringent medicals, or what would sort of be involved?
Oh, very, 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 very stringent. Heart, blood pressure, weight, obviously injuries. Looking at obviously if they've injured their hands, or if they got a bad black eye, or they won't be allowed to box.
So there was no, like as you say, you could literally box every day if you wanted to. So in likes of the multi-nation tournaments and the Olympics, what sort of gap would there be between the first round, you beat someone, you go through to the next round? What sort of gap in between would there be?
It depends on how many boxers was in the weight. If there was enough boxers in the weight, it'd be every day. So you box Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right, and then you always had a free day. But it depended on it depended how many people. It depended how many people were in your weight. Remember, there was 10 weights. And they could be 20 boxers in one weight, but they could only be 8 in another weight. So they wouldn't have to box so often. So it depended.
Yeah.
It depended what was there. But they were medical. Even if they weren't boxing, they would still weigh in the next morning to make sure that they're keeping their weight. So that part of it was taken care of.
Well,
And
I
then,
believe in the background, Steve's working in the background. He's going to bring a couple of photos up. What we got there, Steve?
you ain't woke him up, have you?
Steve, can you hear me? No, no. Steve, if you can hear me, mate, bring some pictures in, please. All right, Bill, carry on then, mate. So we're up to, what was it, 2012?
Yeah, and obviously that's when I stopped refereeing and stopped having anything to do with boxing. And then in, I think it was 2008. I was working obviously for my company for Payday, and Mick, our boss, Mick Crossan, our boss, was very was interested. He kept giving me tickets to go to the Arsenal, and I said to him about going to England Ireland, and we went there, and then that was the start of our foundation, which we've, as I said to you, we've raised £14.5 million for boxing clubs in London, and we're still going on now. I mean, some of the biggest ones, our own club, Repton, we got them £250,000. That's a listed building there, and it had to have the roof done. But it had to be done exactly how it was, because it was the old baths in Cheshire Street. We got West Ham Boxing Club. They were being taken out of the Black Lion pub in West Ham, and we got them a brand new gym in Plaistow. Again, probably round about circa £100,000. Oh, blimey, that's a photo from. That's when I first ever started boxing. That's me down at the bottom on the right, and then that's my dad behind
What, the
me.
skinny bloke?
The skinny bloke in the front. Yeah, mate,
Oh, what, you in the middle?
I mean, no, right in the end, where the board is, where it says book.
Oh, yeah.
To the right hand, if you look at it to the right hand side, that's me, 10-year-old, and then the man behind me in the tracksuit, that was my dad. So that would have been 19.
So this is what?
1959.
52?
No, 59. I was 10.
Oh, right. Okay.
That was when we first
So,
opened. That was, I could see a couple of people in there that I remember, that I grew up with.
And you was in Stepney at the time, Bill, yeah?
In Stepney, yeah. It was called Burner Youth because that's the estate we lived on, which was the Burner estate in Stepney. And that was like the community.
What was that?
Pardon?
Whereabouts was the Burner estate?
It was in Stepney, in East London, just off of Cable Street in Cannon Street Road.
Yeah.
That's
where I know.
That was where our estate. That's where our estate was. And as I say, my dad and his friend called Harry Baynard, they started that off, and we were there, as I say, for about 3 years until the council decided that they was going to close it. And we moved to St George's Church in Cannon Street Road, and that's where we changed our name. We went from Burner Youth to St George's Stepney. And
so was there anybody famous come out of Burner Youth other than yourself, obviously?
John H. Tracy, who went on to become world champion.
Oh, yeah.
We had two brothers there, Eamon and Neville Cole. Neville Cole went on and won 3 ABA titles. Eamon Cole turned professional because he was the elder of the two. And had he kept throwing his shoulder out. He had very, very square shoulders. He kept boxing. And every time he boxed, he threw his shoulder out. My belief is that Johnny Tracy and him would have been a different setup, because during our time together, Eamon was the more skillful boxer. So it could have been a different result if he never never kept throwing his shoulders out. But we had 11 schoolboy champions there. We had none of them really went on to be pros as such. The most prolific one was obviously was John Tracy. And
he was a good old Bethnal Green boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came from Bethnal Green. Well, he came from Bethnal Green, but he actually boxed in Stepney. And then the next really prolific fighter that we had out of as an amateur at St George's was a kid called Tony Connolly. Then after that, we had Rod Douglas, who boxed Errol Graham and ended up with a bit of a good hiding from Errol. But there was loads. I mean, that club we had so many. I know so many of the boys that all went through all went through our club. I'd say 90% of them ended up being, if you like, good fellas, nothing, And if it hadn't been for that boxing club, I would have thought a lot of us would have gone in different directions.
But they say that anyway, don't they? If you're going to have that sort of background, then the boxing clubs tend to be the places where kids sort of find their true self and come away from the gang style of it and whatever.
We never had, see, that's the thing, that's the difference then, Charles. We never had gangs as such. You had friends that you hung about with, but they weren't no gangs as such. And the difference is, if you had a row with someone, it'd be with your fist and that'd be it. It'd be over and be done. It wouldn't be stabbing and shooting and whatever. Different times, absolutely different times. Yes, you had your different areas. I mean, I lived in Stepney, and then you had Bethnal Green, then you had Poplar, then you had Moreland, then you had Wapping. But there was nothing. You'd all go into one another's areas. There was you come from Stepney. There weren't none of that. I mean, the bulk of the pubs, to be honest with you, were in Bethnal Green anyway. So, like when you grew up, 18, 19, 20, every area was predominantly in Bethnal Green.
Well, I grew up in Poplar, but 15, 16 was always drinking round and Stepney playing darts, so as you say, there wasn't sort of any gang culture as such, but if you was in trouble, as in you was a right little tearaway, they often get down the gym. I mean, I remember at school, if you had a fight with someone in the playground, our headmaster would take you up to the gym and he'd put you in the ring. You want to fight, you fight him in the ring and fight him fairly. And that's how it was then.
Well, it was, yeah. I mean, when I was at school, Rob Montefiore, our PE teacher was this guy called Mr. Richardson. And that's exactly what he would do. And he'd call you up to the gym and go in there and have a round with him. And I'd go in there and I wouldn't take liberties. I would never, that was what you wouldn't do. But it different times. You couldn't do that now. They have all these child protection and was it child line and all that. The teachers would be prosecuted. You'd end up in the juvenile court for assault or whatever it was. And that's the things I think is where to be honest with you, where if you like, where society broke down a bit, and there's too many do-gooders. You can't do this, you can't do that. And anyway, let's get away from that.
I think, that's the thing for another day. Right, what's this one? Here's one you remember really well.
Yeah, Beatles about. It's when I got caught in a Connaught room.
Explain.
Well, I was invited. to do this to referee at this tournament of Connaught Rooms, and they said like you had to be there at 9 o'clock on the night. I thought so it's a bit of a late start and all that, but I knew that in the Connaught Rooms that's where all the Freemasons, where they have all the dues and all that in there, because it's next to the Freemasons Hall. So I thought it must be something to do with that. But then I turned up for it, and it was Eltham and Fisher. It was supposed to be a dinner show, and they had these two boxers. I got in there. I just passed my European referees exam, and they got these two in, and that I called them to the middle to shake hands, and they wanted to start fighting with one another and all that. So I got over that. There were so many things. One fell down and pulled the other's shorts down. I thought, Jesus, what's going on here? And in the end, they both hit one another and went on the floor. But I thought, so I'm sure they never got. I was counting them. And all of a sudden, this woman jumped in the ring, and she said, "Oh, that's my son." So I grabbed hold of her, put her up in the corner. I don't care who he is, And then I settled, got her out, and all of a sudden, the two boxers started to fight with one another again. So I've got hold of one boxer, slung him up against the thing, and anyway, I got it settled, and I disqualified both boxers. So got them into the centre of the ring to announce what I'd done. And then all of a sudden, there was this great big bang. Now, Eltham and Bermondsey, they're like deadly enemies. My first thought some bastard shot someone here, but then it went completely black. And then all of a sudden, and this is all in split second shot, all of a sudden I've looked up. As I've looked up, it looked like the light bulb would burst, and all this silver foil stuff started coming down on me. And as I looked round, there was that Pratt Jeremy Beadle standing behind me, but he actually had an egg guard on. But I recognised him. And I went, Jeremy Beadle, you. But
yeah, all right, fair enough.
yeah. And I said to him, the other thing I said to him, how do you do that to me? I'm an Arsenal supporter, because he was a staunch Arsenal supporter. And I said to him, do you know what? This was afterwards. I said to him, do you know what? I always said, it'd never catch me. And his words for me, he said, see, used ones, you're the easiest. The ones that think they ain't never going to get caught are the easiest ones. But the bit that I told you last week, when I got to the Connaught Rooms, there was this fella there, and he went to me, Bill Cox, and I said to him, I don't know you. And he said, I'm a friend of Jack Danbury's OIC. And I kept looking at him, and I thought, I know your face, but I can't place you. Anyway, cut long story short, at the end of it, do you know that in that programme in Beatles about, when the annoying bastard from the council comes round with a clipboard and all that, it was fucking him, and I've recognised him, but didn't recognise him.
Yeah. It wouldn't be on your brain, would it?
No. Had I recognised him, then they couldn't have used me, because it had been on top.
Yeah.
But it was so clever how they done it, Charles, because like when you went in this room where the boxing was, it didn't look no different. And then after it was all finished, we were sitting there talking. The walls were false. There was about a 8-inch gap between the wall, but that's where the cameras were and all that, so you never see them. So it was good. And then I met Jeremy Beadle twice after that. Once I pulled up to get a drink in Battersea, and he was in the shop, and I spoke to him and that. I said, "Oh, you're all right." And then we did a big tournament again at the Connaught Rooms, but this was to raise money for the Freemasons. And I didn't know at the time, but he was one of the top Freemasons in the country. And I think we raised about £250,000 that night. In it was England versus Scotland. But that's that adventure done and done with. I never lived it down for ages.
Didn't you?
No, I've got to tell you this.
Well, I remember.
I phoned up because it was quite late at night. So I phoned Jackie up because her brother Alan was when we used to be a boxer. I phoned her up and I said, we're going to be late here because I've been done by Beatles about. She went, don't tell lies. You're going out on a piss with me brother. I said, no, I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
She didn't believe. She wouldn't believe it. In the end, I had to get Jeremy Beadle. Jeremy Beadle spoke to her on the phone. I thought she wouldn't believe me. They'd been murdered on the
phone. They're all the same, mate. They're all the same.
Yeah.
But am I right in saying you tried to get a copy of it, didn't you, of the video?
We've been trying for ages to try and get a copy because obviously I wanted it for the grandchildren, for them to see it because they've never seen it. So I've been trying. I've got someone still trying to get it now. I'd love to get it, but on the actual show when we went, because obviously they film it and then you go back into the studio, and that was like about a year later. And when I got there, I had a good friend up in Liverpool, up in Blackpool. I used to go up to quite a lot, Tony Rayner. And we always used to go, when I was up there, we always used to go over to Central Pier. And Maggie Mays was on, it was Linda Nolan and that. And we really got friendly with Linda Nolan and her late husband, Brian. And when we turned up at the studio, I see Brian, we was getting some food. So, what are you doing here? He said, oh, Linda's here, but no one wants to know she's here. It's a surprise. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, the same thing. I said, I'm here doing Beatles about, but no one knows I'm here. So, anyway, I don't see him no more. And then when it was all over, we went back up into the green room, all having a drink and all that. He said, oh, I wish I'd never seen you in there. I said, that's nice, Brian. I said, why? He said, well, normally when I come here, he said, I can walk about and do what I like. He said, when they realised that we knew one another and we could give it away, they locked him up. He couldn't walk anywhere. But, yeah, it was all good. It was all good fun. And that was one of the experiences that no matter whatever they put in my way, I managed to get over. And as I said to you later on, that held me in good stead, really.
Yeah. Well, Steve, if you can chuck another picture up, and I'll put it on screen later. So carry on, Bill. Oh, actually, there wasn't. I was reading the other day that Ray Winston was at Repton, wasn't he? He boxed at Repton.
Yeah, Ray Winston boxed at Repton. Yeah, he did. And he still follows them now. He's still because what happened?
Well, he was a Hoxton, wasn't he?
He came from Hoxton, yeah. But what happened there? There was two boys at the club at the time that went on to be good actors, if you like. And what happened was there was him, and there was another fella called Glenn Murphy who went on to be George in London's Burning. And
oh yeah,
just up the road, and there was another fella there called Tony Marden, who's a distant relation of mine. He went on to be one of the biggest script writers for television ever. So there was three people that went into the entertainment, but Ray and Glenn. The Half Moon Theatre was just up the road to us, and they came in the club, and they wanted a couple of fellas to do something in the Half Moon, and that's how they got found, just by pure chance. So
mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad.
Could have been you. Could have been you.
No, well, I was too old. They're a lot younger than me. They were still boxing at the time, but the Glenn's dad, Glenn, they had the Bridge House in Canning Town, and that's where Chaz and Dave started with the first.
Used to go in there.
And then
we used to go in there.
Out of that, because he had Bridge House Records, we at Repton brought out a record called Jab and Move. You look on, if you go on YouTube, it's still on there, which he wrote and he produced it.
I'll have to have a look at
that in the Bridge House. Yeah, it's funny how you start talking about
Well, I
things
didn't know that.
and you remember. Like, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, but we used to go in there quite a lot because I mean, from 77 we lived on the island, on the Isle of Dogs, and obviously that, you know, it was only up. Well, they say Canning Town. It was on the borders of Canning Town or Poplar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really, I mean, just under the bridge. So,
if you went down the dip, it was Canning Town. Before you went up the dip, it was Poplar. If you remember.
Yeah, yeah. Right, another one coming up, Bill.
Coronation Street. That was the Commonwealth Games in Manchester. A fella.
So this is 2002.
It's 2002. The fella on the right and furthest on the right hand side here is a fella called George Brugnoli. He's a referee with us. The official photographer for Coronation Street was his next door neighbour. So the fella there who looks like we call him the Fonz, his name's Pat Fiacco. He was mayor of a town in Canada called Regina. He was saying he was a staunch Coronation Street fan. So George said, I'll have a word with my mate and see if we can go down the studios and have a visit, which he did. And we got there, and the only one who came out to us to speak to us was the one who plays this, Jenny. Can't think of her surname.
Oh,
but
yeah, I know what you mean.
But she said, "Oh, my dad's a right boxing fan," and I said, "Oh, is he?" I said, "Would he like a ticket? Would he like a ticket to come to the final?" Or she said, "I'd like to come to it as well." So I said, "Well, anyway, when we got back after that visit, we spoke to the organisers and we got them 2 tickets to come to the finals in the MEN, which they came to." But that was
you looked older then than what you do now.
Well, you know what it is. It's the milk.
Is that what it is?
It's
you had hair then?
Yeah, not a lot. Didn't have a lot. That's when I started losing it. But as I say, that just shows you that the
with my hair. But she makes next one we've got coming up, if we can get it up. Oh, we're fine.
That was the last time I ever refereed. That was England versus America.
And this was in America. When was this? 2006?
No, this was in a Cafe Royal in London. But it was England versus America.
Oh, right.
And that was the last. After that, I couldn't referee no more because I've been appointed. They give me permission to do that last show, and then I couldn't referee no more. And on that, I think we've got another photo there. On that, in that team for England, was one kid who went on to become an Olympic gold medalist, and the 3 of them that are on there all ended up becoming world champions, which was Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, and James DeGale. So it was a bit of a. You never knew it was going to end.
And they was all on this night, on your last night.
Yeah, they all boxed on me last
night.
That was all. Yeah. That was
wow.
2005, 2006. I think you've got the picture of all the boys sitting there, and they're funny enough, they're all on.
We'll get that one up in a minute. So, do you still stay in touch with any of these?
Oh, I'm in touch with all of them. All of them. They're behind me was Billy Phillips, who I grew up with. He does it. He stopped doing it. Oh, there's the boxers. Bradley Skeet there as well, and Bradley Saunders. But yeah, I'll keep on with Billy Phillips was behind me. I grew up with him. Alvin Finch, he's the mayor of Kendal now, up in the Lake District. Georgie Brugnoli, who's now the chairman of the Referee and Judges Commission of England. Mickey Norford, who's the black fella or the black. He's on the European Commission like I was. Yeah, I keep in touch with all of them. We all keep in touch, and the boxers. I see all the boxers all the time.
Yeah.
See them quite
so,
often.
so this one, what's this one here we got here?
That's the team. That's the England team that boxed America that night.
So,
and if you look, you see Tyson
so
Fury.
going from top left, Bill.
From top left, I can't remember. You got Bradley Skeet there. That's Bradley Skeet, the tall one, I think. I can't think of the other kid that he comes from up north. But then you got at the front, obviously the biggest one. There's Tyson Fury with hair. Next to him is James DeGale.
That's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, and next to him is Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
And there's that kid from Birmingham. Go on, mate.
I say, and the last one on the right.
And that's a kid from Birmingham. I can't think of Mark's. I can't remember his surname. Obviously.
And are you in?
Go on, mate.
Say, are you in touch with any of them still?
I see Bradley Skeet quite a lot. I see Chunky, James DeGale quite a lot. Billy Joe Saunders, I see him about 6 weeks ago. I keep in touch. They keep in touch with me on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. Yeah, I've not.
Yeah.
I haven't never lost touch with any of them. It's like once you're in it, it's like family. You might not speak to one another 2 or 3 months, but you're always in contact.
So how did you feel? Obviously, being amongst well-known boxers and whatever as he was growing up.
Say that again. Sorry.
So how did young Sam feel being amongst boxers growing up, like well-known boxers?
He didn't take no notice. He loved it. He loved the sport, yeah, and he loved it. And they all loved him because he was only very, very little. In fact, I got some pictures got sent to me the other day. I didn't have time to send them over to you, but it was a picture of him when he was up in Liverpool when I was doing a multinations up there, and he's in the ring sparring with David Price. Samuel was about 2'3" and he's about 9 foot, and the title of it went in the Liverpool Echo. The tall and the short, with the tall and the short, or something like that. But they all loved it.
I believe we've got a picture of you and Sam, haven't we? Steve, can we pick that one out in a minute, mate, please? Bill and his Sam, his young son. Go on, carry on, Bill. Sorry.
Yeah, and they all liked, but what they liked about him, because although he was a little kid, he was very knowledgeable. But they'd sit down and they would talk with him, and they all used to say, he's so knowledgeable. He was taking notice of what was going on around. Most kids, they're just it is what it is. But he didn't, and so he used to sit and chat with him for ages. So I'd find, where's he gone? And he'd be sitting with one of them, and they'd be chatting away, talking about the boxing, what they do. He would always, and he always done it from when he was a baby. He always had that inquisitive brain. I mean, the guy that lived next door to us, he would always ask, well, why do you do it that way? How do you do it? He said, and that's how he's been all through his life. So, and that's where
I think I can just get it up now, this picture.
That's it, yeah. He was 16 now. That was at the Duke's Hall in Romford. And that was the first time he refereed.
Was that his first
ever? referee. Now, he refereed, that just shows you how things go round. He actually refereed these two boys. I think they was 13 or 14 at the time. But they was towering above him. Absolutely towering above him. And he refereed. And obviously, I couldn't adjudicate him. Said, I'm not going to adjudicate him. My mate, a fella called Mick Budden, he came down. He sat on the refereeing judges commission with me. He adjudicated Samuel. And the kid that he refereed has now just turned pro as an heavyweight. Is a fella called Johnny Fisher. And they've kept in touch from that day to now, Samuel and him.
Yeah.
And but I mean, when he had to lift the arm up for the to you know, give the
announce the win.
Yeah, you could see. I mean, put his eye. It was good. I'm sure. I'm going to ask Samuel. I'm sure he's got photos of that. But yeah, and then he went on. He refereed about. He'd done about 3 or 4 different shows, and then he got his flavour back to actually go back into boxing, and that's when he stopped refereeing for a little while. But I mean, if he wanted to go back to it, he'd only have to do a little exam and go back as quick as he liked if he wanted to.
So when he was on the circuit of refereeing,
yeah,
was it local to where you was living, or was it nationwide?
Yeah, it'd only be in London. It'd only be in our division, the North East Division in London. Right. Although he went to Frank Bruno's academy in Alpington for his sixth form, and they was having a show at the school, and the referee never turned up, and they got him out the audience to referee it.
Really?
Yeah.
And that mad?
Yeah. But
so did they know? Did they know he was in the audience as just a referee, or
no? He was just in.
They know he was there.
No, I mean he was in the audience because he went he went to that school, so you know he was there to watch the kids that was boxing that he was at school with. One of them was Teddy Cheeseman. They all of a sudden they was all sitting there waiting, and this referee don't turn up, and I think the OIC was a fella called Terry Gillam, and he realised Samuel was there and said, Samuel, you know, this show ain't going to go on unless you referee. So Samuel didn't have his rights or anything else with him. We just had to get in there and referee as he was in a tracksuit.
So how did do you know how the other boxers felt with sort of Sam being so small and refereeing, and them sort of being, you know, lumps?
No, it didn't make no difference to them. Again, because of the discipline, they know the referee's the referee. You have to do what the referee tells you. I mean, and he wasn't. He wasn't worried about the size or all that. I mean, I think about the second or third bout that he refereed, there was these two, and he stopped it within, I don't know, half a round because the kid was getting so much punishment. And you know, Mick Budden said to me, "That just shows you he's not worried. He just he's just done it."
Yeah. Yeah,
and them decisions,
which is good, really. I mean, it stands in good stead.
Yeah, when you're refereeing,
remember,
you have to make decisions in split seconds.
Yeah. I find it very strange in the likes of rugby. A referee will make a decision and the players just go, "Okay, fair enough." But in football, they want to argue the toss about it, you know, forever. There's no discipline, but I think boxing gives you more discipline than any other sport.
Listen, if the referees in football were as strict as that we are in boxing, you wouldn't have a football game because you'd end up sending 3/4 of them off because you send them off for acting, or you might even send them to the England diving squad because we're short as divers, but I think they've all started to play football. And we had one of the best divers in our team at the time as well. So we can't be exempt, Mr. Perez. You're taught in boxing. If whatever
Next
the
question.
referee says, whatever the referee says to you, you do. If you don't do it, you're going. And that's the same with rugby. They don't argue. They don't argue with.
I would imagine. Excuse me. I would imagine it's a lot harder when you're in the ring and you're actually, you're boxing for it. It must be very hard that when the referee sort of pulls you apart to have that discipline, not just to crack on and keep punching. You have to obviously break. But
when you're an amateur, they don't pull you apart. They've only just started doing that. But when I was refereeing, you say break, and if they didn't step back, they'd get in trouble. So as soon as you went break, then you keep your hands up. But you step back, you had to take that step. The only time you couldn't take a step back if you was on the ropes. So then you would, as a referee, as you say, break, as that one step back, you step in the middle just to make sure the kids or whoever it was could get off the ropes and you get them started again. Obviously, in pros, they was always pulling them and tugging them, and you'll see a pro fight, and they'll say break. Boxers don't take notice of them as you carry on. They just hold one another. That's the difference between the two sports.
Yeah,
one is it.
I mean, I always, when I was younger, enjoyed the lower weights because you tend to find the lower weights tend to go more against like the heavier weights that just sort of, there is a lot of them are journeymen, aren't they? Really, I mean, they're only in it.
Well, no, not what it is. I mean, the lighter weights are always, I would say, up until middle. They seem to be quicker and more skillful. When you get to light heavyweights and heavyweights, they seem to be a bit more ponderous. Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, the little. I mean, you get in with a light flyer or a bantamweight, and I'll tell you what, you have to be fit to keep up with them going around the ring. Hello?
Yeah.
Who's that?
That's right, not mine.
That wasn't me.
I'll let you have one guess. No, it weren't me singing either.
Right.
Right, so we'll move on. We're sort of where was we? We were 2012, weren't we? When you get all up.
Yeah. And then from then onwards, I was working for my company Power Day, and so I introduced Mick into Paul King, who was the chief executive officer of England Boxing at the time. And from then on, we started this foundation. And as I said before, repeating myself, we've raised £14.5 million for amateur boxing clubs in London, and we're doing a lot of other things. I told you we were about to do the first ever Down syndrome swimming championships in Crawley, but because of the pandemic, we've had to put it on hold.
Yeah.
So, and that was going to be a joint venture between Power Day and a company called Keltbray. We were going to, and we are going to sponsor them when we can.
They're a building company, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a construction company as well.
Yeah.
We will do as soon as it's possible. We will do that Down syndrome All England Championships. First time it's ever been held. And then we're doing for another thing we're doing now is for mental health. I told you Samuel's trainer and his best mate, Sam Bazina, committed suicide last week.
Yeah, I know. We see him a couple of times down here, didn't we?
Yeah, Sam. It's called Sam's Calling, or sorry, Sam's in Your Corner. And what we intend to do, obviously, roll that out to all the boxing clubs all over. But it's for anyone. Yeah, we've had two young amateur boxers in this lockdown period commit suicide. So we're setting up this in his name with Sam's mum and dad's permission to use his name to try and help any boxer who's got any kind of come and speak. There'll be a designated phone line, and not only that, we'll be going into the clubs. We'll be going into the clubs to talk to boxers, and tell them it's you can talk to anybody. Nothing. Don't matter what it is. You must talk. It's so important that we get that message. We get that message across to them, because this and this. I think with this lockdown, it's going to be one of the biggest problems that you've got. Will be mental health.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and I think that the prime example is for boxers as well, is to look at Tyson Fury, what he went through and how he's come through at the other side through school. And that's what we try to help kids to do.
I'd love to be able to chat to him. I think he's such an inspiration. I really do.
Well,
because of.
But what surprised me, I've known him since he was a young boy, and he always seemed like a bit of a scatterbrain, to be quite honest with you. But Harry's turned his life around now, and how sensible he has got about these kind of things. It's a yardstick for any boxer with any, or anybody. Doesn't have to be a boxer; it could be anybody. Yeah. Just listen. Listen.
The way I look at it, he ain't got to worry about money or anything like that. He could have done and can do whatever he wants.
Well,
so there was no sort of motivational for him to come back into boxing for money-wise. He had everything.
Oh yeah, but it just shows you. I mean, that first fight with Wilder, his whole complete purse, he gave away to homeless people. He's that kind of person. He didn't need that.
Yeah.
Didn't need that kind of money.
Yeah.
But he's a generous. He's a generous person anyway.
Yeah, and he don't seem to hug the limelight, does he? He just gets on with his life. He does what he does.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't like it, unlucky. He's got no allegiance to anyone.
No.
You know.
And he's really good. He's really good with people as well. He's absolutely bang on with it. He's just an ordinary fella. There's no airs and graces with him.
Yeah.
He's good as gold.
Yeah. So I'd love to chat to him about his career. I really would. Yeah, go on, mate. So we keep interrupting, but you're doing this for the Down syndrome, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we're doing that. We've still got ongoing projects going on at the moment. Although I'm on furlough, but we're still doing. With me and Paul King are still doing things. We've, in fact, we've got a conference call at 2:00 with Newham Council over Fairburn House. We got them a brand new gym through Fairburn and through Newham, and they're now decided that it's going to be knocked down and renewed, or they're refurbished. Now we got them nearly £200,000 for this gym, and we had a big opening and all that. So it's come as a bit of shock that it was that quick that they're going to remodernise. So we've got a conference call with Newham Council, because what the agreement was when we put them in there, that if they did decide to remodernise this place, that they will build Fairburn House a purpose-built gym. Plus, we've got another one in Newham Boxing Club. They're just going to be put into temporary accommodation while they actually refurbish the gym that they're in. So Newham Council have been really good. Obviously, the legacy from 2012 has helped the boxing clubs there. We've got another club out in near London Airport. We just got them. It used to be a football changing room in this big park, and we've just got them a fair amount of money from Spelthorne Council.
So the foundation's like obviously helping in all these causes.
Yeah, there's so many we've done. There's so many we've done. We've done at Earlsfield. That's where Joe Joyce come out of, and Sid Khan, who is Sadiq Khan's brother, is the head coach over there. We got them their gym all refurbished and the money to do a mezzanine floor in there. As I told you about West Ham, with the Lansbury in Poplar, which is your neck of the woods.
Yeah,
we got them.
Yeah,
Sporting. We got them a load of. I think that was about 80 grand for all new equipment that went in there. There's so many. I should have had the list here, and I could have gone through it, but it's just continuous. And we've got one in Brixton now. That we're trying to help them there, obviously, because there's a big knife crime area there as well. There's a gym in the Arches. In fact, it was founded because the mum of a boy who got stabbed set this club up. So that's another one we're doing. And we just clubs phone Paul or me up and say, like, can you help? And we help them as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, that's good because it's putting it back into the community as well, isn't it?
Well, it's my company. I mean, our social. I think I touched on this last week. Our social value is that it's more or less every pound that's ever spent with our company, 17 pence of it goes back into the community. Now, we sponsor Asian Yedding Football Club. We sponsor Enfield Town. We sponsor what's their names? I'll think of it in a minute. It's a Gaelic football team. I can't try. I'll think of the name in a minute. It'll come to me in a minute. But my boss has always said that's what he wanted to do. If he made it, he wanted to help. He wanted to help the youth. I mean, Dale Youth, that was our biggest one. Dale Youth was after Grenfell was before. In Grenfell Tower is where Dale Youth were, and they had the old bin room. Do you remember in the I blocks they used to have shoots? Then they used to come down and they had in.
Yeah.
Well, they done away with that, and the bin room as such was £150,000. We completely refurbished it from top to bottom. Absolutely brilliant. And I was only in there, I think it was 6 months when the fire happened. It wasn't a fire.
Well, I was actually.
Yeah, go on.
I was out there that day.
All right. Well,
so I was actually driving past on the A40 and could see the flames and everything.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. The gym didn't get destroyed by a fire. It got destroyed by the amount of water that went through it. Yeah. So through that, BBC, the RYSOS got in touch with us, and we had that purpose-built gym and community centre done with the RYSOS. That come to millions. That was built in 9 weeks. There was a record. What that was built. They built the gym and they built the community centre. Even Prince William come down there to it while he was there, while it was being built. And that's been ongoing from that. And then from there, Samuel was doing the Grenfell survivors. There was survivors that were still in hotels up until he's left now and in Dubai. He was teaching the children from the school, which is across the road, the KAA. He was doing the school within the school. Pupils that were on the cusp of being expelled and all that. They was going. He was taking them twice a week, and the 2 years that he done it, not one of them got expelled. In fact, I'll get you the letter. The copy of the letter, where the principal of the KAA said, and he had letters as well from parents saying that the difference since Samuel had been doing it, or Pat they had been doing that. What a change in their children. They didn't have to tell them to do nothing. They wanted to go to school. They started to do things. Again, it shows you what sport and a bit of discipline can do. And then
that's right.
I mean, that's probably got to be our biggest success story. Would have been that, with all the most publicity that would have come out of that. And then through that, Mick, my boss, he become the president of Dell Youth Boxing Club, and I'm one of the trustees at Dell Youth Boxing Club now as well. So now because Sam's gone to work in Dubai, we now have to get another coach to carry on that good work, which we will do. We've got a couple of people in mind that will be able to do it, just to carry on doing that. And he was also doing the Cobham Academy in the school in Stratford. He was going in there doing the same thing in there. He was doing his old primary school in Laycock. So we were doing a lot, and we will do as soon as his lockdown.
Did he go to Laycock Street?
Laycock Street, yeah. So
I used to do loads of work out there at BIZ, Build Design and Think Work.
Oh, right. Well, they as soon as this lockdown's over, child, we're back to normal. We'll be back. The foundation will be back doing all these things. We're just doing as much as we can in the background at the moment, because obviously there's going to be a lot of clubs that will be in trouble. They'll be in trouble because they're getting no subs. And it's very expensive to keep it going. So when we're in touch with a lot of councils, they're trying to get them, because most of the clubs are in council property. So we're trying to get the council to try and be a bit lenient with the rent. Most of them we got them rates free. I mean, any sport, any voluntary sport can get 75% rate relief, but if you're a registered charity and all that, you can get 100%. So that's what we try. What we try to do. Obviously, a lot of these clubs, you've got the volunteer, and they're all volunteers. They all volunteer and they train the boxing and they do this and do that. But that kind of thing, like with applying for grants and getting rate relief and getting better deals off the council, they don't know how to go about it. So that's where we as a foundation come into our own rights and do all that. take that away from them, and we take that on. And as we're lucky, I mean, our boss allows us the time to do it all as well, and pays our wages.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, a big up to him. There's not many bosses do that, is there? Let's be honest.
Well, I think we've said it. I think we are the only company anywhere that are doing anything like this in the whole of the country. There's no other company doing what we do, and it's a big. And it's not because we have to do it. It's because my boss wants to do it. But the upside of that is because he wants to do it. Obviously, when we tender for work now, that you're being asked what you're doing with the community. That's part of the contract. That's part of the tendering process. So obviously, if you're doing what we're doing, it gives you an edge, and so it should, because if he is, as an owner of a company, is willing to give up that amount of his profits to it, then they deserve to win work.
Yeah. So just give a quick bill to how they are and what they do.
Well, we're probably the biggest waste and recycling company in the south of England, and we do mainly what they call C&D, which is construction and demolition waste. We don't do skips around people's houses and all that. It's all great big sites and big contracts. We're on an HS2 now. We've done so much work on Crossrail. It was all the big building companies we work for, like the Lang O'Rourke's and Keltbrays, Mace, all these sort of they're all sort of like blue chip companies that we work for. And we have 5 depots. We've got 5 depots. We've got our main depot, which is over by Wormwood Scrubs, and then we've got a yard in Brixton. We've got a yard in Enfield. We've got one in Wimbledon and one at Heathrow. So that's what we do. We don't send nothing. We don't send anything to landfill. Everything that comes into us is recycled in one way or another. So,
well, big up to your governor, mate. Big up.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And if it wasn't for Mick Cross and now his son as well, Ed, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And it is a big up to him. As I say, his only downfall is he's a Chelsea supporter.
Well, don't start on that, because if they start winning games, mate, they're going to say Thomas Tuchel, like we should have had him and whatever. So I don't want to go into that. I'm quite happy with Arteta in at the moment.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's glad to be seeing you on the streams lately as well, on Terry's stream.
Well,
he does go for it sometimes. Like he's they are really good streams, actually. So
through the foundation, really, through the foundation, and through my grandson boxing, my George boxing as well, I have got the love of the sport back. And obviously now, where I'm on my own sort of thing, where I lost Jacqueline 2 years ago. I will do now take a more active part in the boxing. I mean, I was doing more and more in the last couple of years, up until this lockdown. But I'm being asked now if I'd go back and start doing adjudicating and things like that. And to be honest, I think I will. It'll give me something to occupy the old grey matter.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely, you should do. So just before we finish, mate. Yeah, that's right. We was up to about, just run down quickly from sort of 2012 to the present day, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, that's more or less what I've been through. I mean, 2012. I mean, I've worked for this company for 13 years now. My life's really been what I've been doing with the foundation, and the things that I've outlined to you, and which we're still doing now. So obviously, with Samuel boxing as a pro, with George boxing as an amateur, and all that. Obviously, I've been around them. I actually now, when I think about it, when I was speaking to you, I'm a trustee on Dell Youth Boxing Club and on their committee. I'm on the committee of Islington Boxing Club. I'm trying to think else. Well, obviously, I'm a trustee on the Padday Foundation. So, you know, I've got quite a busy little life to do now, really.
Yeah. It keeps you active as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And to a certain extent, it keeps. I think being around younger people keeps you in a younger mind. To be quite honest with you, it's so easy to sit down and think, oh, you know, your life's going by you, but you're around them young ones. You don't. That don't come to you. It's different.
I know. Yeah.
You know, you sit around with miserable old.
So,
well,
listen,
you
Bill.
end up by yourself.
Thank you very much, mate.
That's all right, mate. You're welcome.
You mean like me, you in the club?
No, like you.
Very much appreciated for coming on 2 weeks.
That's all right, mate. You're welcome.
It's been it really has been an insight, you know, into one, your life as a boxing referee, and two, as in the foundation. You know, keep us updated, because any youngsters that do eventually watch this, I mean, it does get views on YouTube more than what we expected, a lot. And we haven't really put it out there. We're just sort of doing it as a bit of a tester, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, people are watching it on social media, which is great.
Yeah.
Anybody that is watching it or wants to get into boxing, you know, just drop us a line and we'll put your name forward to Bill and the foundation, and you know, hopefully we can get more kids off the street and into boxing.
Well, it doesn't. You know, at the end of the day, we're saying that we've got so many other sports that we can go, even if they don't want to do boxing. We've got football, we've got rugby, we've got all different things that we could guide them. Whatever way we could possibly help them, we'd help them.
Well, do you reckon Mick could ever come on and do a stream? Would he ever come on with you and do a stream?
I'll ask him.
I mean, if you could, that'd be, you know, because it'd be really good for people to put a face to a name, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir.
And you know,
I'll definitely ask him.
Yeah, find out, mate. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. Oh yeah, I think he would. To be quite honest with you, I'll speak to him.
Yeah.
I'll speak to him over the weekend, and I'll.
Well, at this moment in time, we've got a free spot next Friday at the same time. Wednesday at 2:00, we're doing a review. A chap called Thomas Moorcroft, who is the founder of the Cray Twins fan page. So if anybody's watching that should be quite interesting. What he doesn't know about them, you know, about what they've done and whatever, and who he was involved with, I don't think a lot of people know. But that's on at Wednesday at 2:00. So if you'd like to come over for that, that'd be great. Anybody that does watch on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. On YouTube, that's the way the channels get their name out there, is by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. It is just literally a click of a button. So with that, Bill, once again, mate, thank you very much. Really much appreciated. Watch this space. And
and I'll have a
hopefully,
word with
mate,
Mick.
we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll have a word with Mick over
Yeah,
the weekend.
that'd be
absolutely.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
lovely. Thanks very much
Okay,
for watching, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.